Hello Summoners and welcome back to another episode of our OP Pick or Bans. In this video we're going to tell you which champions you have to pick or ban on patch 9.12. Let us know down in the comments below if you agree, disagree, have any feedback, or just want to give us some love. We always read your comments. Before we get started, we want to mention that you can check out ProGuides.com, where we've partnered with the best pro players in the world to create guides designed to take your game to the next level. We also have a new feature called InstaPro, where you'll connect with a pro instantly and they'll be able to analyze your gameplay and help you take your game to the next level. With that being said, let's get into the video. Starting with the top lane, Corrupting Potion is getting nerfed, so it's an indirect buff to champions who don't build it as a starting item. With that in mind, the first two picks are Darius and Riven. We covered these champions in our 9.9 episode, and they'll continue to dominate the Rift. As Riven doesn't use Corrupting Potion and Darius is able to use Doran's Blade or Shield just as effectively, their early game strength is only going to increase this patch. Next up, we're unbenching the Kench. Despite the nerfs to Corrupting Potion, Tahm Kench is still going to be a dominating force in the top lane. He deals so much damage, he's extremely tanky, safe to pick, and provides a bunch of utility. It feels like once he's on you, you're almost certain to face a slow or sometimes a quick death. Even in losing matchups, he can farm and become a sizable threat in the mid to late game. During the early game, you're almost always going to be looking for opportunities to fight your opponents. Although some ranged champions like Gnar or Vayne might prove too difficult to reach, those who have less mobility in their kits are prone to Tahm's all-ins. It's even worse for melee champions who put themselves at risk every time they walk up to farm. Make sure to punish your opponents anytime they let you attack them. You're able to land several Qs on them while you chase them down in the lane. Also, don't be afraid of small minion waves. You can find a lot of solo kills when your opponents get overconfident because they have a couple of caster minions attacking you, when in reality, you'll be able to ignore them and demonstrate why Tahm is OP. In the mid to late game as Tahm, you'll be clearing side lanes and then looking for opportunities to ult. Use it creatively, bring a buddy, and try to flank opponents or even use it to get objectives faster. In the late game, Tahm deals insane damage and is difficult to peel off once he's able to reach his foes. If your enemies overextend, then make sure to capitalize with the extra movement speed you'll have from items by running them down and picking up some kills. Our last pick in the top lane is going to be Urgot. While there are nerfs to Corrupting Potion, we don't think they'll really affect Urgot. He still has the option to start Doran's, and mana costs become less of an issue as he levels up his W. Urgot is strong, has great engage, and is generally a pretty safe pick. Since he's ranged, he'll still be able to farm in most counter matchups and has the potential to become a monster in the later stages of the game. The only real downside to Urgot is that he's not the easiest champion to play. While his abilities don't require pixel-perfect precision, 3 of them are skill shots. You'll want to take him into some normal games first before you jump into ranked. Since Urgot is ranged, make sure to take advantage of minion wave management during the laning phase. Build slow pushes and punish your opponents with your E if they misposition themselves while trying to farm. Since it throws them behind you, you'll be able to punish your opponents hard if they don't back off when you have big waves coming in. Remember that when you set up ganks, your ult doesn't have to execute. The 4-second slow is a great tool to help your teammates get to and stick onto your opponent. If you guys are interested in knowing a little bit more about wave management, go check out our laning guide on ProGuides.com, where you'll learn all the strategies to wave management. The mid and late game are where Urgot dominates. His team fighting is insane, and the only downside is that his survivability depends on your ability to utilize his kit effectively. While lacking the defensive stats that tanks or other bruisers have, Urgot can survive fights by healing off of Death's Dance and Conqueror, and also by fearing multiple targets with his execute. Urgot pushes minions and turrets down pretty fast. You don't always have to commit to team fighting, so instead look for good opportunities to flank. The best fights for Urgot are when he can flank from the side or behind foes, because his initial engage can only hit a single target. That's a little too much love for the top lane, so let's get right into the other roles. Alright, on to the jungle. Our first pick in the jungle is going to be Kayn. Kayn's power farming style and versatility resulting from form choice allows him to thrive in the current meta. Kayn altogether is finding more success as a result of a jungle meta where many of the strongest champions aren't aggressive until after their first clear. Level 2 junglers like Xin and Camille aren't as strong anymore, so Kayn has more breathing room to take full advantage of his clear speed. Darkin Kayn especially is finding a lot of success because of his strengths against team comps stacked with melee champions. Bruisers or Juggernaut tops, tank junglers, and melee champions like Zed, Talon, and Sylas mid are all currently prevalent picks. Throughout the entire game, make sure to take advantage of Kayn's ability to traverse the jungle. He has the unique ability to walk through walls, so make sure to take the shortest distance between one camp to another. Another thing to utilize is Kayn's clear speed. He's great great at taking all camps in the jungle, so you want to clear the jungle as fast as you can to gain leads and also eliminate your opponent's counter-jungling opportunities. If it's safe, look to gank the side that you end on after finishing a jungle clear. Even if you don't get a kill, it'll help you towards your transformation. Against team comps with a lot of melee champions, Darken Form is superior. Darken Form gives Kayn healing on all his damage. Against several melee champions, he's almost always going to be able to hit multiple enemies with his abilities and be a giant nuisance. Shadow Assassin is the choice when there are several squishy opponents, especially when they're immobile. You'll want to utilize Shadow Step and other movement speed bonuses to quickly catch and one-shot opponents who are mispositioned. Next up, we have Nunu. Don't be misled by the supportive role he plays. Nunu is an extremely oppressive jungler, and his gank potential is something that laners can't ignore. In the early game, set up a game plan and decide which lanes are most important to keep safe. Whenever you have time, use your trinket or sweeper to help your team gain vision control and keep them safe while providing pressure for them. With the nature of how Nunu's snowball works, you'll be able to start ganks from far away and succeed by moving fast enough to make shallow vision irrelevant. Think of it as a mini Scion ult every time. When your lanes have priority, take advantage of this. Like we said, Nunu is oppressive. He stays healthy, is tanky, and is able to counter jungle really effectively. If your laners have priority, don't be afraid to walk into the enemy jungle and try to push them out of it. Because of your tankiness and sustain, you can stall for time while your teammates arrive, or try to yoink a camp with a Q plus smite and walk out. Unlike other junglers who snowball leads through kill pressure and damage, Nunu excels in vision control and counter jungling to make the enemy jungler irrelevant. Create pressure for your lanes by getting deep wards or clearing all enemy vision, and then look for some more gank opportunities by running it down with your snowball. Off of any successful gank, make sure to consider the option of going for Dragon, Rift Herald, or Baron. That's it for Nunu, so let's get on to the mid lane. First up is Katarina. Mid laners across the board have been seeing nerf after nerf. As a result, Katarina's relative strength has continued to rise after each patch. Especially in solo queue, where players are more prone to pick for comfort rather than team comp, Katarina thrives in team fights. With how important team fighting is in the current meta, it's no surprise that Katarina has emerged as a dominant pick. During the early game as Katarina, you're going to look to farm until your first base. However, since you don't have mana costs, make sure to constantly harass with your Q anytime you can and extend those trades whenever you're able to do so safely. If you're able to trade evenly, that's great for you. You'll eventually be able to make enemies expend enough of their mana so that you can even set up solo kills. Upon finishing Cutlass, and again when you upgrade it to Gunblade, your kill potential increases significantly as Katarina. Practice and test your limits so you can understand when you can all-in your opponents, because that's one of the keys to Katarina. The mid to late game is pretty straightforward for Katarina. You're always going to look for team fights or skirmishes, go to the side lane to clear waves if there's no objective to fight over, and pick off opponents who are weaker than you, but make sure to be present in every team fight. You need to be there and ready to clean up. The longer a fight goes, the better it is for Katarina, as it opens up more opportunities for her to attain her reset fantasy. Speaking of resets, let's talk about Pyke. Ever since MSI, where Wonder took the world by storm with his pocket pick, Pyke has been the talk of the town. Despite being a support, Pyke's highest win rate is currently in the mid lane. While his wave clear is pretty lacking, his mobility, damage, and ability to solo carry make him a devastating foe to play against. Pyke's weakest point is in his laning phase until he's able to finish Tiamat. When we said his wave clearing is lacking, we really meant it. His Q deals reduced damage after the first target it hits, and his E is risky to use for clearing waves. First of all, you need to walk to the caster minions, and second, you need to expend your primary escape tool. Especially against ranged champions, you're not going to be able to do much until you have Tiamat. Stick it out and try to get it on your first or second recall. Once you have Tiamat, you'll be able to wave clear and also trade more aggressively. Use the wave clear bonus it gives you to prep a pushing wave, then walk past the wave to fish for a hook. If it lands, follow it up with your E to stun and trade aggressively. Remember that you can heal back a decent amount of damage you take from champions by disappearing from vision. Use this to help you survive poke early on and to also heal up after taking heavy trades. Mid and late game play out just like support Pyke, well, except that you're just a little bit better. You're going to make picks, engage team fights, or clean up for resets. It's paramount that you prioritize vision control, so make sure to pick up Sweeper, Duskblade, and Pink wards and Control wards at some point during your games. Our biggest piece of advice is to remember that you don't necessarily have to use your ult for an execute. Landing your ultimate will teleport you to your target's location, so sometimes it's actually better off to use your ult for the purpose of closing the distance between you and your opponents. Alright, Alright, now let's get on to the bot lane. Sivir's presence in the bot lane hasn't dwindled at all. She's still a solid pick, and unless she's received serious nerfs or sees buffs to her hard counters like Vayne and Kalista, she's going to continue to dominate the Rift. We've covered her in our last episode in 9.11, so you can learn more about her there. Xayah has again found her place as a staple pick in both competitive play and solo queue. Her combination of damage, utility, and safety make her a great pick at all stages of the game. During the laning phase, you'll look for opportunities to poke your opponents with Q and E. And also, you get some bonus points for following up on any engages on your support. In lane, the combination of Xayah's burst damage and root gives her a lot of kill potential with almost any support. Xayah is strong at quick burst trades as well as longer all-in fights. Her biggest weakness is her long cooldowns though, especially on her W. Make sure to avoid all-ins by playing safe while you're waiting for your abilities to come off cooldown. Like other marksmen with good wave clear, you'll want to push side lanes before grouping whenever possible. In the mid to late game, your main role is to carry team fights and wave clear. Make sure to use your Q whenever possible to throw out feathers and maximize your damage. Use your W when you're fighting a priority target. Make sure to use your ult and your E carefully, as these two abilities are what will separate good Xayah players from great ones. They can serve as both offensive and defensive tools. Use your ult to follow up on an engage and activate your E to root several targets. When there are key abilities that you need to avoid, make sure to instead save your ult to dodge those abilities and use your E to peel for yourself. Alright, that's enough about marksmen. Let's get on to support. Our first pick again is Yuumi. Trust us on this one, she's OP, especially if you're duoing with someone. Check her out in our last episode. Our second pick for support is Janna. Janna received changes last patch. She's lost some of her damage, but her shield now has its cooldown reduced by 20% whenever she slows or knocks back a target. While she herself can't poke as hard anymore, her ability to cast her shield more often has led to Janna's rise as an OP pick. During the lane phase, look for as much poke with W as you can. Make sure to hold your Q to disengage or use it aggressively only after poking your opponents down. Use your shield either reactively to block any damage or aggressively when your lane partner goes in for trades. Whenever you lack vision, play a bit further back so that you can charge up your Q for stronger disengages and also to give your lane partner extra movement speed while they run towards you. In the mid to late game, stick with your backline during team fights. Your role isn't to engage or do anything crazy. Those highlight reel Janna flash ults that you guys see on YouTube are very rarely the best play, unless they're used defensively. Make sure to hold your ult to peel for your carries when they're getting dove. Make a note of which champions or abilities are most important for you to stop and save your abilities just for them. Janna is one of the fastest champions in the game. Couple this with her Q's disengage, and you have a champion who is surprisingly good at getting vision by herself. Like all supports, make sure to prioritize vision control and call a buddy if you don't feel safe getting vision by yourself. Our last OP pick draws upon themes of one of our favorite League memes. Is it meta? Aftershock Lux, is it meta? Absolutely. As troll as it sounds, Aftershock Lux is debatably the strongest support in the game. Lux is a champion who provides poke, lockdown, and an immense shield. By running Aftershock, Lux is able to cover her only real weakness, which is that she's squishy and immobile. While many players like to max E for poke, we suggest splitting some points into her shield because it's one of the strongest abilities in the game. And also because shield bash. During the laning phase, you're going to want to trade, and trade some more. The combination of poke and the double shield you get from W makes Lux annoying and oppressive to play against. When you have the kill potential on your opponents, you can look to bind them with your Q, otherwise hold your Q to activate Aftershock and save yourself from those engages your opponents might go for. Make sure that when you don't have vision to use your E before warding. Since it gives you vision, you can use it from a distance to scout out an area before warding it if you're afraid of lurking foes. In the mid to late game, your E is going to be used mostly for its slow. Since you can leave it on the ground without popping it, it serves as both a zoning and peeling tool. Your W and Q are the big abilities that you want to be spamming. Use your Q like a Morgana Q, look for picks, or CC crucial targets during team fights. You won't be dealing as much damage as mid-Lux, but the extra utility you provide from the extra points in your W will make you a priority target that your opponents need to take off the table. Again, you've got Aftershock, so your opponents are not going to have fun. That concludes our OP picks or bans for the patch. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are interested in taking your League skills to the next level, please go check out ProGuides.com, where we are dedicated to getting you guys higher ranks this season. If you want to get coached by a pro player, then please check out InstaPro on ProGuides.com, where you can start talking to a pro player immediately. That's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and we'll see you on the Rift.